Hello everyone, welcome to my demonstration of the functions and sound selection for the Markland Goliath service car set. First we have the crew car, which is on function 1 for the lights. The work car has been modified and I have included functions on F0 for the lights. And the last car is the cable car, which is on F3 for the lights. The work car also has a visual and sound combination for a welding sound and light. When the sound is finished, the flashing light will appear on the top of the car. You are seeing the switchboard at its default settings. That means that the yellow blinking light when the power is turned on to the layout is on when the function button F2 is turned on. This is the default setting. So let's just now demonstrate selecting a sound. I'm going to select number 4, which is the Jolt ramming machine. And you'll notice that it toggles through on this and then turns the sound on. I'll let that play a little bit. Now I'm going to turn the sound off, and to turn it I must hit that button again. All the messages are reflected in the window, and this is most important. You can see things happening here. Now let's demonstrate some of the interlocking. Now let's play another sound, which is a compressor with air screwdriver. So I'll do that. Let it play a little bit. Now, for some reason, if I forget which sound I'm playing, let's say I choose the forging hammer, you'll notice that nothing happens. And if I refer to it down in the window, I chose forging hammer, but it tells me the last sound played was the sound compressor with air screwdriver. So to turn the sound off, I need to go back to the compressor with air screwdriver. And that should then return me to my default position after 10 seconds. You'll see the toggle command here flash, and then the sound should, function 2 should come on, and we should be back at the default blinking position. I'm now going to simulate a power interruption. But first off, let me select a new sound. I'm looking at grinding metal. Now that's playing. And then go up here to the freeze button, and the power to the layout is turned off. Wait a couple of seconds. Turn it back on with the power on button. And what happens now is that the last selection was the grinding metal, but the nature of the function car with a power interruption is that it will always go back to the first position, which is the yellow blinking light. So to get things in sync, all I need to do is push the power reset, and it will then say resetting to the grinding metal sound, and it'll play the sound again. Now once I've got that, I can then click on the grinding metal, and then that should then return me after a 10-second delay. You'll see this toggle command flash, and then the F2 button will come on, and we're now back at the yellow blinking light, and the switchboard and the function car are now in synchronization. A closer look at the switchboard reveals that all the toggle switches are interlocked. So if I try turning off the first position, it will show it as restricted. Now let's make a selection such as the Jolt ramming machine, and that will then switch the flag on. Now if I go to any other switch, I still get these restrictions. And the only way I can get back to the default position is to push the Jolt ramming machine button again. The manual sound selection for the Goliath service car is very difficult, as you always have to use function 4 as a toggle operation to cycle through the 11 available options. So let's have a closer look at the jolt ramming machine. And first I'll look at the flagman in the inspector window, and over here you can see that the flagman is triggered by the on of the jolt ramming machine for the toggle switch. The operations, you can see when the flag is on, I have a ×3 macro, and it then also turns off the default position so we maintain the interlocking. And it's also used in the operations of last sound played and power up reset. Remember I mentioned the ×3 macro? Well, to use the jolt ramming machine from the default position, I have to go 1, 2, 3. So there's my ×3. Now, if I want to return, because it's in this cyclic fashion, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and return to default of 8. So that's 8 times. So now let's have a look at the off flag for the jolt ramming machine, and you will see in the inspector, again it is triggered by the toggle switch for the jolt ramming machine, and its operations when it's going to the green flag are ×8, and it will also then turn on the default position for the blinking light. Keeping with the jolt ramming machine, the toggle switch is a lot more complex. First off, you can see in the inspector window there for the off position and the on position there is interlocking with all the other toggle switches, and it is also used in the operations of turning the machine on or off, and it's also used in the conditions of the various switches and also the ramming machine on and off. And last but not least, it triggers the 2 flags. Under engines and trains, we have the function car, and the general description is I've given it a name and I've specified its length, its full weight, its empty weight, its contact spots and its maximum speed. But the most important is the functions. So let's have a look at those. And here you can see all the functions for the lights are on a F0 through to F4, and that all the rest of the icons are list commands. So sticking with the jolt ramming machine, let's have a quick look at the list. And here you can see that I give a message as to which list is playing, and I also have some embedded macros. 3 of them in fact: the jolt ramming machine off, on, and also the last sound played. Using the new Explorer window, under macros, you can see the entire list of all the macros that I have, a total of 35. It may seem a lot, but this makes operating the car very easy. With the aid of the inspector window, let's have a sample look at some of the macros. First, let's have a look at the 3 times script. Here you can see that I'm using the F4 switch to toggle on for 150 milliseconds and then off with a delay of 200 milliseconds. Now this timing is very, very important, and if you want to do it on your layout, you may have to play around with these times, as the response from the IC and the function car is a bit challenging. For the jolt ramming machine on, the macro is first turns the sound off. There's a delay of 1 second, then the toggle switch for the jolt ramming machine is turned on. Now a condition of this script being used is that the jolt ramming machine must be in the off mode and the blinking light must be turned on. It's also used in the operations of the engine or the car under the engines and trains window. The macro for the jolt ramming machine off is virtually the same as the other on macro, except for that when the sound is turned off, I wait 10 seconds. And I used a separate macro with just a message of 10 seconds. This saved me typing in all the lines for all the macro. And then the jolt ramming machine the toggle switch is turned off. And the condition of that is that the jolt ramming machine must be on. And again, this is associated with the engine and car for the function carried. In Train Controller Gold version 8, there are some new features for macros which are very interesting, and I've used them in the last sound played and also the power up reset. And if we have a look at the operations, under control flow operations, you can see that we have some new things called prerequisite, go to, label, and probability, random order, and sequential order. Now, these don't exist in revision 7, and I have made use of them for the last sound played and the power up reset macro. On close examination of the power up reset macro, you can see that I have a prerequisite flagman indicator for each sound selection. If I go to prerequisite flag indicator number 4, which is for the jolt ramming machine, you can see that I have a go-to label 4. Now if I move down the file until I find that label 4, you can see that I have a message I'm resetting to the jolt ramming machine. The sound is turned off, there is a certain delay. Then, because it is at the default setting with the blinking light, I have a toggle through 3 times, which then gets me to the last sound selection on my switchboard. Then I go to the label end. And if I go down to the end of the file, you can see label end and the message sound sync with selection. So I'm now back in sync. So this is just a quick look at some of the macros. For all operations to work successfully, I need to assign the service car to the dummy block, and I need to assign these flagmen here and for the power reset to the block. So let's have a closer look at the block, and in the inspector you can see all the associated flagmen. The most important being F2 sound on, power up reset, and F4 toggle sound. And if we have a closer look at the block, you can see all the flagmen associated to it. For further information, you can look at the data I've provided on my website by typing in Markland site within quotes, do a return, select Ross Stewart's Markland site, and here under my tips section you will see that I have a 33-page document on this particular work car, and also the lighting modifications I did on it in another document. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.